just say we went live? Good evening and welcome.
Plugged it in, yeah.
What's up down here at Sky Guide for January 2024. It's my pleasure to show you what you can see. Tonight is actually very clear. Doesn't happen very often. What you can see throughout the whole month of January. It's a beautiful season because even though it's crisp and cold and we freeze, suffer for our art, basically, everything is some of the best, brightest stars and objects in the world, in the universe, are at your disposal in January. So, first of all, we want to start with before bringing you what planets and then what constellations you can see, little things like birthdays. It is Isaac Newton's birthday. Depending on what you are reading and depending on what century you're in, it's either January 4th, 1643 or December 25th, 1642. Apparently there's some sort of cusp between the Julian and the Gregorian calendar. So technically he was born under the Julian calendar in December 25th, and he's officially January 4th. So happy birthday, or happy belated birthday. I cannot do this without thinking two things. First, Isaac Newton had to deal with the pandemic. I'm just asking everyone to mute yourselves, please, online. Thank you. He was at Trinity College and Cambridge University when the plague started. He had to go home, and he made very good use of his time. Depending again on what you're reading, he either invented calculus or planted the seeds, and also developed his theories on things like gravity and the laws of motion. So just to let you know that when you're homeschooling it, you can produce very well. I also can't do this without always thinking of the lead guitarist, Brian May, who, as a lot of you know, not only looks like him. I don't think this was actually deliberate because he was a dark-haired guy with all that hair, but he does have a PhD in astrophysics, which is really cool. And during the pandemic, the most I can say is that I think he and the remaining Queen members and Adam Lambert had to postpone a concert, okay, for at least a year. Okay, moving on. Some very good fun facts. In January, we already had the beginning of winter in December. In January, we are actually at perihelion, which means that we are closest to the sun at this time of the year, as opposed to, as you can see on the right, July aphelion, which is when we are farther away. And that's just sort of a cool fact of space news. I always tell the difference between perihelion, which involves the sun, and perigee, which involves the moon. Apogee and aphelion being farther away, it starts with an A. I think of away, apogee, aphelion. So there you have it, a little cheat sheet for you. But it's just something very interesting about the way that our solar system is made. And of course, it did take place January 2nd. We're in the Julian calendars, haha. So again, as you might know, orbits are not generally round or perfect circles. In fact, they're generally elliptical or oval. It's our tilt towards or away from the sun that makes the seasons and makes it either hot or cold. And again, as you saw in the previous slide, we are farthest away from the sun on exactly July 4th, which is kind of cool. So as you can see, that it's sort of a paradox, but we love the Earth. We love the way everything is working, and we certainly hope the Earth continues to survive. And this is a little bit of silliness from the Onion Press, one of their latest quasi headlines. We're trying to make us sound better, and there you go. All right. Ta-da. Okay, we'll try to get serious again. Here is our solar system, and for those of you Pluto lovers, I have inserted my own little heart-shaped shape on the planet of or non-planet of Pluto, all the way at the end, and we'll show you what you can see. First of all, rising 3 hours before the sun or so. We're starting what you can see early morning planets, and then we'll go to the evening. Venus, which for any of you who have seen it, it's like a starburst. I mean, it is really, really bright. It's one of those, what is that thing, objects in the sky. And of course, tonight, a lot of you have seen Jupiter almost directly overhead. It has that same look. It's just brighter than anything else except for, of course, the moon, and in the daytime, the sun. But you've got to get up pretty early in the morning, and you also have to have a very low horizon. But, you know, for the next few months, you can be treated to that. As you can see here, earthsky.org has a lot of cool things. You can always look up any number of websites, a lot of which I'll show you at the end for my acknowledgement slide, where you can, see what's going on and maybe brush up on some things you discovered here. But it's always neat to show the crescent moon. We have January 8th and 9th next to Venus, and Mercury is even lower. So that's going to be a trick for those of us who have special telescopes and or a really high ground where you can see the eastern horizon. Oh, again, I just wanted to, whoops. I'm not used to this advancing. Here we go. I did mention that it's got a magnitude. Stars and planets are given a magnitude, which is their brightness, their apparent brightness to us. And actually, the negative numbers are brighter. It actually goes, from 0 down to the negatives. The highest you will get in a planet is 4. Sometimes Venus or Jupiter are 4.2, 4.5, and then the positive numbers are the fainter stars. So just to explain that, here's another thing about the beginning and the end of the month. Again, Mercury will climb a little bit. So if you're a Mercury lover, towards the middle of the month, you can get a decent look at that. Venus, this is just a nice, I think this is Astronomy magazine. It shows you, it's in the Sagittarius constellation. And as I'll show you later, the planets are always in a zodiac constellation. That really helps you find them and helps you find your way around the sky. And there's Mercury, and at the end of January, it has the 27th here, 45 minutes before sunrise. I mean, it's really, it would be really hard to try to see Mars, but certainly you can. That is going to be, a morning planet for a month or two. Next, Saturn, and at last count, I try to do this every month, 146 moons. I think it's ahead of all the other planets. And this just kind of shows you the rings of Saturn, which, as you can see, are very tiny and very big particles of rock and ice. And that ice is what shows what contributes to the great reflection we can see. All the outer planets, Jupiter, Neptune, they have dust rings, but not dust and ice rings. So we get familiar with associating Saturn with the rings just because they're the ones we can see. And it is the first one in the evening that comes up, and it's setting pretty soon. I mean, obviously, we can see the sky, it gets dark 5, 6 p.m. We're starting to get lighter all the time. But since it sets at just a little before 9 p.m., do try to see it. And by the end of January, it sets by 7:30. And this is one I always like to show photos taken by our people. And this is Donna Harris's from September, and it's lovely. The one thing that is lovely about Saturn is we're so taken with the rings, we forget that the globe itself has bands and has some marvelous features. The other thing is that we are in a time this year and next year where the tilt of the ring is starting to get shallower and shallower. And as you can see at the bottom, from 2024 to 2025, it's been slowly rising to the point where it's just edge on, and you probably won't be able to see the rings very well. So for 2024, let's get our sightings of Saturn there. And as you can see, it goes in a pattern. It's going to start all over again, 2026, and start. You can find these charts, anywhere if you Google enough. The next planet that's going to show up, and we are going to show you where they are on your chart for winter constellations. Neptune. Neptune has 14 moons. You would need a telescope to see that. All these other things are available with binoculars or the naked eye, except for Mercury would be pretty hard to see. Here's another kind of drawing that shows where Saturn is. It is in Aquarius, and mid-January, it's going to be near a crescent moon, which makes it very nice. All right. Next is Jupiter, which a lot of you have already seen or will be able to see as soon as the talk is over. I'll try not to keep you too long because it's a clear night. This is, again, an excellent photo taken by one of our people. Cliff Hashcraft has a home observatory and all the equipment to make wonderful astrophotography. He also lets you know which direction south is, because when you're seeing something with the naked eye or binoculars, it is right side up. When you look in a telescope, it's upside down. It's just the last step before you get enough mirrors and or lenses to get a clear picture. And it's just not flipped the way you really need it to be. But a good picture will always show you, especially when a planet has a distinctive feature like the red spot. It's not showing here, but when you look at photos, you go around the web and look for photos, it'll be on the right side bottom, and sometimes it'll be on the left side top. And it depends upon whether these people took a picture through a telescope or not, and could tell you. So we love Jupiter. It is in the constellation Aries, which is a very faint constellation. I will show you the whole winter map, and you'll be able to see that there are some large dots and small dots. There's colors to stars. Those are wonderful because they really represent how things are. We're lucky in New Jersey, if only because we can still use telescopes to get good photos and good sights, even though we're dogged by all that light pollution. The other thing is, I learned the sky in New Jersey, where I learned the big dots and the shapes. Once I did that, and then I went, I think my first visit outside, being into the hobby, was northern Vermont. It was gorgeous, but there were so many stars, I couldn't pick out patterns. And I thought, let's hear it for New Jersey, right? we have a historic dinosaur, by the way. So we're one of the few states that have a state dinosaur. So read up on Jersey, you'll love it. But I'm happy, just as happy to have learned the sky here. So, like I said, never despair. Again, there's that magnitude item coming up, and Jupiter can get or very, very bright, and as bright as Venus a lot of times. But right now it's only -2 as opposed to -4, which, as we know, is much brighter. All right. Now, the other thing about Jupiter up top, this is what you could see in a decent pair of binoculars. If anyone has binoculars at home, it doesn't have to be a very special astronomical pair. It doesn't have to be very expensive, maybe up towards a little over 50, between 50 and $120. You can get 2 baby telescopes, basically. Very easy to use. You don't need a lot of instructions. And they really show you many more stars than you can see with the naked eye. So, like I said, if you have them at home, please go ahead and try to check them out. But as you can see, I think I mentioned before, it was about, we're always counting. It's about 95 moons so far in Jupiter. The 4 you see are called the Galilean moons, and so called because Galileo was the first person to notice the moons, and they were orbiting the planet, and that went a long way into discovering where we were in the solar system, that everything was not going around the Earth. But they're fascinating in their own right. When we first did Jupiter a few months ago, I went over viewing the moons and what they look like and everything, and you can certainly continue to do that. One of the things, looking at that photo, is the moons make their orbit around the planet, and it takes, I'm not sure what's the longest orbit, but every few hours that picture will change. If you're hanging around looking through binoculars, it's not going to stay that way. The universe is a very busy place, and the planets are always changing. For example, down the bottom, see all those 2 very, very thick bands? They didn't always look like that. A few years ago, one of the bands practically disappeared, and then it came back. So, it's just more fascinating than you think it will be. And that's a beautiful image of what it looks like in a pair of binoculars. Down below, this is something on January 6th. Again, one of the magazine online do wonderful graphics of the Jupiter moons as they orbit the planet. You sometimes can see them. Here, Io, if you look, oh, wait a minute. It shows Io at the bottom right. Then you see the planet. Then you see these 2 black marks. And to the left, you see Ganymede, which is one of the Galilean moons, and Europa, which is one of the Galilean moons. And they are there. Their shadow is just crossing the planet as you see it. And that's got to be worth catching and using your astronomical equipment. Uranus is actually in the same general area as Jupiter. It's in Aries, and it has 27 moons. And as you can see, it's got a very distinctive color, which you can see in a telescope. A lot of things are very cool. Mars is beautiful with the naked eye. That's the way I love to see it. It will be a white disk in telescopes. You can get some features as well, but there are some planets that Jupiter will give you, because of the bands, it'll look slightly orange. Uranus will look green. It's fabulous. I was a member for years before I first looked at it, and I couldn't believe it. It was, first of all, there's a good description of the dust ring that comes with Uranus. The other thing is, at some point in its development, it got knocked on its side. So actually, the poles are on the right and the left, and it sort of not only spinning on its axis, but going around the sun on its side. This is just a very good idea of what you see. I know it's tiny, but when you look in the telescope, I looked in the reflector, just the fact that it was tiny, but you know it's a planet, that makes a big difference. And it's got the color. For those of us who love certain other objects like Vesta here, which is in our solar system, it is actually following during January. It is in the Taurus constellation. I will show you where Taurus is as well. So now I'm going to show you the sky map for winter. And as you can see, different sizes. You can see all towards the center, the left of center, and then going through the center. Just imagine a big oval, all those very, very bright stars. We're stopping where you can see Jupiter and green Uranus to your left. Stop there, but there's an oval. We're going to cover all those bright areas there. And one other thing that I wanted to mention was there are a lot of constellations that you can recognize. Up in the upper left is Ursa Major, which is actually contains the Big Dipper. The Big Dipper is not the constellation. Ursa Major is, but the Big Dipper is what we call an asterism, a familiar pattern. And as a shameless plug of our website, which is www.asterism.org, there you have it. And then you can see the W towards kind of 3/4 of the way up. Sometimes it's an M, sometimes it's a W. That's Cassiopeia. But I'm going to show you again that that oval there, where we've got a lot of goldish or flesh-colored stars. They actually, we'll identify them later. One would think that the color, since the color represents the heat and the temperature of a star, you would think the yellow ones are the hot ones, or the flesh-colored, like Mars is a red planet, but it's really flesh-colored. And then the blue-white, which is on the other end of the spectrum, you would think they are cool. It's the other way around, which is really cool. And the big golden ones are ones that are towards the end of their lives and they start to swell. Okay, and they're many times they're called supergiants. So moving on, I'm just going to show you that oval. And we actually do have a black and white, copy. They're up at the sales desk and also here. And we also have the other, some of you already have them, the sky chart. But as I said, it will show you the big dots, and it will show you the constellations we're going to go through tonight. And as I said, it's just absolutely gorgeous. Sorry. All right. It goes all the way around. And you've got Capella up top. Going to the right, you've got Aldebaran. Going down, you've got Rigel. Then you've got Sirius, and then Procyon, and then Castor and Pollux. And they really should have, Castor should have a bluish tinge. I'll show you later. They're the stars of Gemini. But this will kind of really put you in you'll be able to look at these things and have some sort of, excuse me, some sort of perspective. First, here we are back at our other undrawn set of items here. The Pleiades and Taurus. Taurus is, I've got the Taurus in gold. Just below what looks like a kind of a wishbone. The brightest star in Taurus is a red giant, and that's Aldebaran. And the Pleiades are just above it. They sort of look like a spot there. Let me show you something better. This is Taurus itself. And as you can see, I love finding on the left, this is a photo as opposed to a drawing. I like that because when you look at the sky, after looking up from your page of the drawing, it's sometimes confusing to find your way. But the only part of Taurus that you can see, that's on the left, the picture on the left, and down at the bottom, the golden star is the only thing you can see in the sky. With binoculars, you can see more of it, and that happens to be one of the prettiest constellations because they're different sizes and different colors. There's just some things that make it prettier. And then up on the top is that star cluster called the Pleiades, and you can see it here. There are actually two star clusters. The elongated Taurus is called the Hyades, and most of it is down at the bottom on the left. And then the Pleiades are there. And as I said, Aldebaran is their major star. And here is how it would be proposed by the ancient peoples who like to put myths with the patterns, with the stars. And there's the Eye of the Bull, which is very appropriate. And I love finding out how big these stars are in comparison with our sun. And there it is. Aldebaran is enormous. The Pleiades, this is one taken by one of our other members, Wayne Zool. And it's named after the seven sisters of Atlas, and no one actually can count seven. Sometimes it's sort of 5, 6, whatever. But just as long as you understand that and you're not thrown by it, just know everybody else is dealing with the same problem. The other cool thing about the Pleiades is that the Pleiades in Japanese, not so random, is Subaru. And that's why, excuse me, I'm going to get some water because I forgot to bring some. I'm going to choke everybody out. But you see the logo? Isn't it cool? It only has what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. Thank you.
Maybe it's only 7 sisters. So yeah, at least 7.
So you know some Japanese now. All right. Next one is Orion. A lot of people, for them, it's their favorite constellation. I know it was something that helped me learn the sky. It's big. It takes over a lot of the sky, and it's easy to sort of see that X with the belt there in the middle. And we are going to just introduce it. In Greek literature, he first appears in the Odyssey as the great hunter. And there he is. Most people know Betelgeuse as one of the major stars, and then Orion's belt. Here's another view. Here is a photo, which I like. And as you can see in the upper left of the photo is Betelgeuse. It is a red giant. There it is with its wonderful color. And then you've got in the middle, you've got the Orion's belt. And then the dagger, which is the Great Orion Nebula, which we'll talk a little about. And here is everything with the name on it. Betelgeuse to the left, Bellatrix on the right, and then Alnitak, Alnilam, and Mintaka as the belt. Safe on the left, and Rigel on the right. And as many of you know, well, there you go. This is again Betelgeuse compared with the sun. And there's Rigel. So Rigel is pretty big, much bigger than our sun. And then see how much brighter is Betelgeuse. Again, from popular culture, you know, I don't know whether it's called Betelgeuse. It's an Arabic word. But anyway, we made it our own with the film. And actually, like a lot of characters in Harry Potter, a lot of them were named after constellations or stars. Sorry?
I just saw that Bellatrix.
Yes.
She's a character.
Yeah, she's a character. There she is. We also, in different parts of the sky, there's Draco. I mean, it's amazing. There's actually a character called Arcturus Regulus Black. Anyway,
Yes.
but that's another talk.
Sirius Black.
Yes, well, we're coming up on Sirius, actually. We won't forget him either. Now, this is the Great Orion Nebula. This up into the upper left it's a little more than you would see in binoculars, but you can get that wispy sense in binoculars, and it doesn't have to be a fancy pair of binoculars. So please look at that when you can. Then when you've got, well, this is an astrophotograph that has been given a lot of exposures and a lot of stacking. And one of the benefits of being a member, by the way, is we have many committees, technical committees, astrophotography, research committee, and the people are very, very generous with their time and their advice. So this is something that I would like to learn at some point. All right, the Great Orion Nebula. As you know, nebulas are the beginnings or and the ends of stars, product of supernovas or novas, and this is where stars are constantly being born. As we said, the universe is a very busy place, and this is one of the prettiest ones. This also gives you, I found this, it kind of shows you there's sort of a three-parter when you look in binoculars, and the bottom two are much more delineated, but you get that wispy look. It's one of the few really spacey looking things that you can experience in binoculars. There's something in the middle, which is actually in the middle of this. It looks like a duck head or a comma in your bottom section. But right opposite that, it's very bright. It's so bright that it is actually, what would you call it, obscuring. There's a cluster called the trapezium that is absolutely gorgeous. Here's a better picture. I mean, you really gotta be an astrophotographer to get those four major ones. But that's just amazing. This is actually our own Mark Zadarsky. He just took this a few days ago. I always try to look at what the research committee has produced and show off our astrophotographers, because that is absolutely gorgeous. And for those of you who know what he's talking about, which is smart, you know, you're a better man than I, he gives you some of his equipment statistics there. The other cool thing, and this is there we go. This is a wonderful picture of the ring stars, Alnitak, Alnilam, and Mintaka. We've got a flame nebula on the left-hand side, just under the halfway point. And down at the bottom, the Horsehead Nebula. A lot of you folks have seen that. It's a marvelous bit of creation there, and a great subject for astrophotographers. Looks like a little seahorse. Orion's belt. I absolutely love that this is a scene from Men in Black, because Orion's belt does appear as a very important part of the mystery. And at one point, Will Smith's character is saying, they're looking for a galaxy on Orion's belt. It turns out that it's a little jewel, very small, because it's supposed to be a dichotomy, a jewel on the neck of a cat named Orion, right? But anyway, they're looking at the sky, and he's going, there's no galaxies on Orion's belt. There you go. That's them saying it. They actually did. All right. But there actually are, and here is a photo of part of the nebula on Orion's belt. And this was Mark Zadarsky again. He's the one who took the picture just before of the great Orion Nebula. And there's that horse's head, just as clear as day. One of the things, lastly, about Orion is you often think about where the stars actually are. There's the pattern that we see. It's a familiar pattern from Orion. What if you turned it on its side? And you can see that some of these items, some of these stars, are nowhere near the other. As a matter of fact, the farthest one is the middle star from the belt, which is absolutely cool. They're starting to have a lot on the web showing familiar galaxies, I mean familiar asterisms or constellations from the side. Now, here we go below, or to the left actually, of Orion are his dogs, Orion the Hunter with his dogs, Canis Minor and Canis Major. And they are, again, part of that, I guess, octagonal oval kind of thing that we were looking at before. The big dog and the little dog, basically. One of the things it does is Procyon is the little dog and Sirius is the big dog. And Betelgeuse, the two of those make a triangle. That's one way to find your way around the sky. You find Betelgeuse at the top left of Orion, and these other two very bright stars will form the triangle. There's Canis Major. Sirius right there is the most important star there. Canis Minor, again, as with a lot of constellations, you won't see anything but those major stars. So you won't see all this. You don't see the lettering up in the sky as well as the stick figures. But Canis Major, you'll only see Sirius, and you'll only see Procyon and Canis Minor, but you're not doing anything wrong. Here is another nice old picture of Orion and his dogs. And there is the winter triangle there. You've got Betelgeuse, Procyon across the way, and then Sirius down there. And Sirius is also the brightest star in our sky. Now, it was signifying scorching or sparkling. It was associated with Egyptian gods. And of course, with our friend Sirius Black from oh boy, Friday. My words are all gone. From Harry Potter. Thank you. This always, people help me so much. Thank you so much. Procyon is a Greek word meaning before the dog. And again, if you want to look at stars, some of them are individual. Our own sun is individual. A lot of things, it's a two-star system. A lot of the stars are more than just one. We're seeing one, and that would take too long to go into all of them. But Procyon is quite a bright star. And then we're almost finished here. Capella, you can see up here, it's not a well-known star. It's not in a well-known constellation, which is Auriga. But it is so bright that people say, what is that? And I remember, I didn't know a lot, but I was very proud of the fact that I could tell people what that was, just because it was obscure, and I felt it was a lot of fun to learn it. Again, it's not a zodiac constellation. Like I said, once you know that there is a star called Capella, and the constellation, which is Auriga, is sort of the goat herder, and there's three little stars up to the right there that are supposed to be the little goats, which is really cute. And there, the last ones we're talking about, Castor and Pollux at the end. That's Gemini. The two stick figures. Again, the only things you can see are the heads. I'm assuming they're the heads. Castor is a hot, much hotter than Pollux. Not talking about the twins, one being hotter than the other, but you know, well, I mean, but that is a cool area of the sky where you can see two distinct colors, and that's a real treat. And as you can see, I just want to show you. See, to the right, you will see the planets that I have drawn up here. Saturn on the far right is much earlier in the evening. This is sort of prime time, what you can see between 7:30 and 11. And so you have first Saturn, and then Neptune, and Jupiter, and Uranus. Notice that they are, here you go, I'll show you. At the bottom of Pisces is Neptune, that blue planet. Then you're going to the left. Aries is just on top of Jupiter, and it is also on top of Uranus. And then as you go to the left, you see the elongated chicken wishbone of Taurus. Then next to that is Castor and Pollux. Then going to the left, that little three-sided figure is Cancer. And then the backward question mark next to that is a Leo. Those are all very familiar constellations, and they are all zodiac constellations. And they are in that arc. And that's one of the reasons they became so prominent, because that follows the arc that the sun takes during the day. East to west, from left to right, as it were. Actually, sitting here, this is sort of south, and this is east, this is west, and that's north. So it starts, the arc starts slightly below the zenith. It doesn't go right overhead, but slightly below that. And that is where you will find the zodiac constellations. And because of the way the solar system is built, that's where you'll find the planets. You won't find them anywhere else. So even though we know things up north, like you can see the Big Dipper up there on the upper left, that's not part of the, that's not a zodiac constellation, and you'll never see a planet there. So that again helps you to interpret the sky, makes it a little easier. And just to end, there's Gemini, Castor and Pollux. That's how they usually are. That is a photo showing true colors. And like I said, stick figures, the only thing you can see are the heads. So that is that winter hexagon. And as I said, you can take a little half a page there where I have run them off. So it would help you with the other star map to understand the sky. All right. And the only time I've ever done this, there is a constellation below Orion. It's called Monoceros. And the only reason I'm doing that is Mark Zadarsky he's involved in quite a few astronomy groups, and we're proud to call him a member. He did an astrophotograph, and I had to look the constellation up. And apparently, it is right between, or in the middle, Betelgeuse, Sirius, and Procyon. He's right in the middle of that triangle. And it's an old, obviously, unicorn constellation. And it's not well known, and you can't see any very bright stars at all. But see where the circle is by the horse's nose? That is where something called the Rosetta Nebula is. Again, nebula as a birthplace, nursery for stars. And you can see the photo on the right. You can see some of the photo of the whole constellation of Orion there. And this was a great photo I found online. It's kind of rosy. It's a Rosetta Nebula with clusters appearing in the center. And they all get names and numbers, either M42, which is named by Charles Messier, a Frenchman, who is a Frenchman who categorized a lot of stars. And then new general catalog came later, and we were able to give them fancy names like the satellite cluster, or they just get a good old number. But that is cool to see a photo. You can see to the right and further down, you can see the dagger of Orion. And this is the photo from Mark. It's beautiful, absolutely beautiful. And all those NGC numbers are in that area. The satellite cluster is right in the middle, and some of his, the timing and some of his equipment are down at the bottom. But thank you, Mark, very much for that. And like I said, it's always nice to learn new constellations, especially in kind of an easy place to find. Now, there you go. I'm leaving you with this, the winter hexagon. It's all gorgeous. Just bundle up, get your hot chocolate. The last thing we're going to deal with is a meteor shower. So just getting your attention. There we go. The quadrantids are named after a defunct constellation. It's now northern Boötes. But that Boötes has a very bright star, Arcturus. And this is a nice view of when, closer to dawn, the better. But a lot of meteor showers really extend several weeks. Although people will talk about a peak, that's only one day that's supposed to be the best. But don't give up if you've missed your peak, January 4th. So till January 10th, there isn't supposed to be a moon shining very brightly. We love the moon, but when we're stargazing, it does wash out other things. And so there you have it. These are my acknowledgements. I apologize for my raw throat here. I'll get a cough drop. But these are, right? So these are the people and the very, very helpful website addresses that I've used. And all the people of AAI I put down in the bottom. When you join, you can be put on a team and you're taught to run the telescopes. So I'm stuck here and at the sales desk. I haven't been in TME forever, but I love them all. And thank you so much for your patience.
Okay, if not, telescope to roll.